Hello, and welcome to Gamersledge Podcast. This is a bonus episode. It's episode, let's spoil the X-Men Days of Future Past. And,
I just caught what you were playing in the background.
Yes, thank you. I was trying to do it so that YouTube wouldn't take us down. We'll see if they flag it or not. But if you have not read the description, please do not watch this. If you have not watched nor want X-Men Days of Future Past to be spoiled for you, because this will be a spoiler-filled episode. Bonus Spoilercast, if you will. Joining me this week is Neosapien / Matt.
Hi.
And Burgundy / Dave.
Cheers.
And Turo / Dude Monkey, who is silent for now, but will join us later when he has the opportunity to do so. Before we get too far into it, let's start by giving a quick breakdown. No deep analysis yet, but if you wanted to rate the movie on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it? And we'll start. Go for it, Dave.
Oh, okay. Trying to think. Overall, there was actually a lot I liked about it, and I went in with really low expectations because I was really paranoid about just the way the series was going and how many just awful mistakes they made and continuity things that just could not be, resolved in the movie. So, but in the end, it won me over, and I really liked a lot of the things they did with it. So I'm gonna give it a solid 8.5.
Great, Matt.
Yeah, I guess I went into it a little more positive because I went a little bit later, so I had heard more positive things, but leading up to it, I was very skeptical, especially of a couple of elements, one of which I'm sure we'll get into later, which is tied to the lead in there. But overall, it did a lot right. It did as much as it could do to try and unify the X-Men Fox cinematic universe, I'm kind of stuck at where to place it, but it's definitely no less than an 8.
I went in with very low expectations, like lower than you could possibly imagine. I hated X3.
Who didn't?
Refused to watch Wolverine Origins, the first crappy one where they ruined Deadpool.
Oh, dude, I actually watched that a little while ago. Oh my god.
Yeah, and I also, on that basis, refused to watch the follow-up Wolverine movie. Although I heard that was much better, I still didn't even care to invest at that point.
It wasn't. That's a lie. You heard lies.
Okay. Well, regardless, I didn't watch either of them because of that X3 movie, and I was pleasantly surprised coming out of this one. I give it a strong, probably 8.5.
I thought you were about to say a strong 3.75 for some reason.
No, that's what I really went in expecting to rate it, but no, it wasn't that bad. So let's talk about what we like, what we didn't like. First, if you've not seen the movie, or let's do a quick recap of the story. It does somewhat mirror the comics in that the X-Men in a dystopian future, which we do not know, by the way, and that's going to tie into one of the questions we have a little bit later. We don't know if it's really the 616 universe that we're looking at the beginning of the film, but in this particular future that they have chosen to go with, the Sentinel program has become very real. It's using Mystique's DNA in order to adapt and become the counter of any mutant threat that is out there. Humanity is in its darkest days, its final hours for mutant kind, and the X-Men are holding out, and it is Kitty Pryde, and this is one of my big problems with the setup of the movie. Kitty Pryde, mysteriously, the person who could phase through walls, now has the ability to send someone's consciousness back through time.
Secondary mutation.
Go ahead. What?
Secondary mutation, dude. Already figured out. Everybody's got them.
Phasing through items.
So she's phasing through time now.
Yeah, there could have been a little bit of, backstory on that, that would have been appreciated.
Yeah, there's a
weird.
backstory. Secondary mutation. Dude, we're talking about a whole group of characters where Stan Lee ran out of ideas to create like people's reasons for having superpowers and just said, nah, mutants.
You know what? So here's the
So
thing.
Kitty Pryde's second power is just like, she can do it.
See, but it felt to me that it was more of a, well, she's the one that went back in the comics, so let's just give her this random arbitrary power. And
Yeah,
that's
really it was. We have to find a way to make the story about Wolverine, but Ellen Page still needs to be in the movie.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm imagining that's how the boardroom conversation went. Okay, we want Wolverine to be the main character because he's popular, but it was Kitty Pryde in the comics, so we'll give her a part, and then bonus we get Ellen Page in the movie again too.
Yeah, well, and then the rest of that conversation, which is part of the reason I'm pissed off, is, well, Bishop's a time traveler, so for those people that know about it, tongue-in-cheek, he can travel in time back to yesterday. I'm not happy about this.
Okay, you're just a little sensitive on the whole Bishop thing, so we'll understand and love you.
Well, I haven't even started that gravy train, so just wait till we get into that.
So wait a minute. He's gonna get all mad about Bishop, but yeah, Wolverine could be 6'20", and everybody's cool with that.
6'20"?
Yeah, he's tall. Hugh Jackman's very tall.
And this has to do with the price of potatoes in China. How?
Well, you're just complaining about Bishop, who was a character. Let's face it, nobody even remembered. And sorry, I can't do it.
On the podcast. Jack, there goes Dave.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I'm sorry, 'cause I like Bishop too.
So why don't we get that out of? I know I said we will go over. Let's finish the synopsis. So, Kitty Pryde, the X-Men are running out of time. She sends, and this is the part that this is another logic gap that I have a real problem with. The only person who can physically endure the trip back that far in time is Wolverine. How that's physical, I'm not really sure. But
well, they did try to kind of make it that your mind would be ripped apart, which, okay, since he can heal, his mind wouldn't get ripped apart, and it's already Swiss cheese to hell anyway, so...
Well, that's one of the nice things is finally we get a resolution of that. Of why? Because he's been Samuel Beckett the whole time, jumping through time, restoring right what was turned wrong.
What's went wrong, yes.
Yeah.
Hoping that one day he finally leap back home.
Yeah, his next leap. Yeah, so, I mean, they borrowed, obviously, lots of different tropes from different things to try and cobble the movie together. That's fine. I don't have a problem with it. Send Hugh Jackman back because he's the most popular one anyways. And I have no problem. Wolverine is what the entire franchise is built around. So they send him back to the 60s, which takes him into the X-Men First Class era. He has to...
70s.
Oh, 70s, whatever. It's old. We have to convince.
And there goes the entire population over the age of 38.
Yeah, pretty much. He has to convince Professor X and Magneto to stop events before they happen to set Mystique on the right path, so that we can build franchises around her in the future. Because Hunger Games meets X-Men, everybody likes that. Everybody wins, and that's the synopsis of the movie. So, first off, what I liked most about the movie is for the first time ever, we actually got a team-based movie. People working in unison together as a team. The action sequences with the future team was much better than what we had in the past. Agree or disagree?
The first one definitely. The one in the future, the first one that takes place in the future. The stuff in the 70s. I'm trying to think.
See, there's a
Really,
huge
it's a little more
plot.
disjointed there, but
Well, and there's a huge plot hole which we'll get to in just a little bit. That's really silly about all that. But Dave, your thoughts? I mean, was that something that stood out for you, or is that you just don't care?
Yeah, it definitely stood out. I mean, they were definitely more, which makes a lot of sense because, like, the Bishop era, team, like in the future, was more, militarized basically. So I mean, that's how Bishop used to run things. So they were the XSC, right? So
Correct.
that was more of like a military style X-Men as opposed to just like bunch of whiny teens like what we've been getting. So I think that just made sense for the storyline. So it didn't really, I wouldn't say it really stood out. It was just kind of like that's what I expected. So good on them.
Let's deal with Bishop now, so that I don't have to carry this through the whole podcast. So, for those not aware, Bishop is my all-time favorite character of anything.
Really?
And yes, like literally, he is my favorite comic book character. My favorite. I mean, literally, one of my favorite characters of anything, if not the favorite character, because I don't know why I've always identified with him so well, or why I feel for him, but the whole idea of a strong, personally motivated and moralized individual who grew up trying to model his life after the X-Men, but then through tragedy gets sucked backwards in time to fight people he think is tarnishing the memory of the X-Men that turns out to be the X-Men, and then he has to hunt down 100 criminals after they killed his two best friends with the help of the X-Men. It's always been something that drew me in. His power set is amazing. And I thought they somewhat adequately represented it in the movie. We got it in the form of BFG, that's Big Freaking Gun, where he would absorb power and then redirect it through the gun. I was sad to see that they didn't show his other redirection powers, because he can obviously channel energy bolts without having to use the gun, and it made it look kind of like the gun was attached to him or had to be part of him, so I was a little sad on that part. But I thought for the amount of screen time he had, it was more than cameo, but less than I would have liked, I guess, is the best way to say that. But while he was on screen, he was a badass most of the time. I thought he went out like a chump at the end. By the way, if you like seeing X-Men die, this is the movie for you. This is an X-Men snuff film. And everybody pretty much did not cheer when Halle Berry died, but there was a murmuring in the audience and a lot of high fives. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
That casting always bothered me because she is such a capable actress.
But she chooses, it's all about choice. She chooses to play it in the most handball way possible.
It's not even handball. It's just like she wasn't even acting. She was just like, "Hey, I'm Storm," and it's just like, no.
This movie especially, she was just like there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just always drove me nuts because she had Storm in the comics was always such a regal character, and you'd think that Halle Berry would just be knocking that one out of the park.
Yeah, you would think so.
And it just shocks me that she doesn't want to play it that way.
And
really nobody's telling her to.
Well, and she's Halle Berry. She can do what she wants, apparently. I think Colossus got a lot of good screen time, although he also went down like a chump at the end. Which, I don't know what else to say. I think what bothers me is the way they chose to set up most of those deaths. After working, I would have liked to have seen one person protecting another more readily than each one of them trying to duke it out on their own against foes that they know they're not going to win against. if that makes sense,
Mhm.
because that was really how Colossus died. It's how Bishop died. It's how Storm died.
Yeah, but I think when they all started dropping, I think that's what happened is they got knocked off their game plan.
Yeah, I
You know,
I don't know.
they were just being overwhelmed, and finally, like I mean, there was a few extra Sentinels that time.
Well, there was,
So-
but I mean, what I would have liked to have seen, and let me be more succinct on this,
Mhm.
is Storm sees one of them coming for Bishop and throws herself in the way from one of those beams. It didn't seem like heroic deaths to me. It just seems like deaths for death, gratuitous violence sake. I don't know, and that's just choices. I mean, maybe you guys disagree. I don't know.
That wasn't Storm. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
No, I'm saying at any point in time, Storm could have sacrificed herself because that's what Storm would have done.
Right.
Yeah, but that's
You know,
not what
she was
Halle
the-
Berry would have done. That's the problem.
Well, okay, but whatever.
Halle Berry
She
gets
died.
stabbed in the back by something she didn't even ever see coming.
Although
Yeah.
I will say Blink's death was that was
Blink stuff. That was the counterpoint I was going to bring up to that is that first sequence where Blink is just opening the portals left and right. I mean, she is coordinating the battle. She is redirecting the attacks. She is protecting people. That opening battle sequence was beautifully choreographed.
I agree, and that was something that every single person walked out of the theater saying, I've never heard of this Blink character, but she was freaking awesome. And I'm sitting there going, she had her own book for 132 freaking issues called The Exiles, and if you haven't read it, go freaking read it because it's amazing.
But it happened more than 5 minutes ago, so everyone's forgot.
Yeah, what was her name again? Totally. Can we just talk about the best? All right, second best move in the whole movie was her version of the fastball special.
Oh yeah.
No, it was fantastic. I'm like, whoa, fastball special.
Yeah, I wasn't the only one that mumbled that in the theater when it happened.
And what killed me is it was freaking Portal 2 fastball special.
Oh yeah.
It ripped right out of the video game. But I was completely happy with it.
Loop, 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 loop.
So why don't we, okay, since we're talking about things we love, why don't we get to the 2.5 minutes that couldn't have been any better in any superhero movie ever, in my opinion. And that was that was Quicksilver. After I saw Quicksilver at the end of Captain America 2, I said, man, Fox is going to have their work cut out for them. And Quicksilver was Flash. I mean, they did everything Flash-esque. He's vibrating his hands on the glass.
Yeah.
But man, that scene in the kitchen.
But it also drives me nuts because it's just like I remember, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the Lord of the Rings movies, but I remember whatever one, the second or third one, when they got that big ghost army, and they were just like, and they just wiped everybody out with them, and then afterward they were just like, hey, can we go? And the guy was just like, oh yeah, we got this even bigger battle tomorrow, and
yeah, see ya.
We're gonna
You
get
should
wiped
stay
out.
here.
We're gonna
Yeah,
get wiped out, but hey, yeah, sure, you can go because as soon as I say you can go, you're done.
Right, and see that's the plot hole I was referring to earlier.
Exactly.
I don't know, the entire, like, all of the rest of the 70s could have been taken care of by Quicksilver. Hello.
Exactly. It's just like, hey, you hang with us for a couple hours.
Yeah, and you're incredibly useful. In fact, you might be the most useful mutant we've ever met. So why don't you stay here?
But that does lead into a lot
I'm
of
Professor
discussion.
X. I'm really smart. You stay here. We got this. We're good. It's all right.
Yeah, that goes into the whole thing about how just overpowered super speed actually is.
Hey, we're flying to Paris, and we need you to find Mystique. No, you know what? On a second thought, we can do it. It's not going to take us that long to weed out one person amongst an entire city, of people. So you stay here. It's fine. We're going to go.
It's totally true, though. I mean, but the thing is, like, you understand their quandary here. They can't.
Yes, I know. I know.
They can't keep him in for the rest of the movie because it's just like they knew they totally like when they did that scene. They knew that was the best scene in the movie. They knew there was no topping that scene. They knew that this was them trying to give their big two-finger salute to the proper Marvel Studio movies.
Which I feel they did brilliantly.
They did with that one, yeah. Like they turned around because like I remember when we saw the screenshot of Quicksilver in the X-Men movie, and then we saw the little quick flip of Quicksilver in Winter Soldier, and I remember all of us like we even talked about. I'm not sure if we talked about it on actually on the air or anything, but I remember saying that oh man, X-Men really screwed up with this one. Like they have to be kicking themselves right now. And no, we found out that they were just laughing at themselves. Like, all right, let them have their fun. Let them think it's stupid. And now we know we have like one of the best scenes in movies this year.
Yeah, and I have to say that Time in a Bottle was, even though they didn't have Walkmans back then, that was my other problem, was that I don't think they had portable Walkmans in the set.
Not true. In 1973, there was a prototype.
Well, prototype, not released to the general populace.
Right, but it's possible.
It's true. They did show him steal, that he had stolen a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, okay, I'll concede that point. But as soon as he put on the freaking goggles, so to me it was not just Quicksilver; it was steampunk Quicksilver, which I approve of. And Time in a Bottle kicked in. I sat there going, whoever designed this scene needs to work on the whole movie and needs a raise. Because
the problem was that scene was probably 3/4 of their special effects budget.
But man, was it well spent.
It was worth it, but they could never afford to make an entire movie like that.
Worth every penny.
I think that the thing that caught me off guard is, he's running around adjusting everything and having a good old time doing it. And it's at that one moment where he stops and glances back and sees the bullets actually approaching, and his face changes. And he, for the first time in that scene, he actually showed concern. And he quick ran over and started pushing him out of the way, and it was all told through his face, and I thought it was really well done. I really can't say enough about that scene. I thought it was funny, it was awe-inspiring, and it was just, I don't know how to say it, but the right mood from the music. Yeah. It was absolutely brilliant.
They nailed it. They nailed it perfectly. And it's just like, you can sit there and be like I know people are
totally ripped it off from Over the Hedge. I mean, come on, that's totally a ripoff of the Hammy scene from the end.
And delete, eject. Got it.
Woo! Well, this scene has been done before, right? I mean, you basically said it with the Flash. I mean, this type of scene has been done before. So
no, not in the movie. It's been done in the comics. It has never been done to this execution in a TV or, because Flash, even in the TV show, he was fast, but he was not that fast.
Right, but I mean, there have been. Okay, maybe more along somebody stopped time and then rearranged bullets, or I mean, similar scenes have been done before. But I'm not trying to take away from this one. I want to say scenes like this have been done before. This one was just brilliantly executed. It's not the first time this scene has ever been seen before. I can't tell you exactly where, but I know I have seen bullets be moved, rearrange all kinds of stuff, because you can move around. Whether it's freezing time or moving fast, I mean, it's essentially the same thing for the mechanic. So it has been done before. This isn't the first time this has ever been done. It may be the first time it's been done all of the different things at one time, and like I said, it was a brilliant execution. But it wasn't the first time that this has ever been seen before, this concept has ever been seen before.
You're harsh on my mellow, dude.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Okay,
seriously like.
One of us has to not gush, you know. You guys have already started gushing, so I'll take the role.
No, come on, dude. That was the best part of the movie. Like, after seeing that, it was just like, I'm not sure if I want to see. After I saw that scene, I was like, I'm really afraid for the rest of this movie now.
Well, I kind of wondered if he wouldn't.
I have to say that one of the things that struck me is how inconsistent they wrote Magneto's 70s character from that point forward in the movie. He made some choices that were really odd. Like the whole, I don't know, let's try and kill Mystique, and then let's try and kill her in public, and then let's try and make up with Mystique. Those were a really odd set of choices, because I get that they were trying to separate. They just went through all this difficulty to reconcile Magneto and Charles. And Eric and Charles finally on the plane ride over, they find some common ground, etc. Why Eric would fly off script so easily and so quickly makes no sense to me, when they know that Charles can just shut her down. Very odd choices. Or do you guys disagree?
Well, I mean,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure. I really didn't think about that part when I was watching it, because it's just kind of like, I think they were just kind of making things up as they went along.
Well, I mean, the writers or the actual
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah. I mean, what frustrates me is Mystique and Magneto have always shared this very close, sometimes father-daughter, sometimes more, relationship. So it seems like a very unnatural choice to have Magneto try to kill her. Just flat out kill her.
That scene, I mean, other than curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal, you know, esque feel to it, that scene there didn't make sense. It was really jarring, and I'm not sure that the Magneto character ever really recovered from that in the movie. But at that point, it was, you know, we were just along for the ride.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I get the Sentinel thing that he did. Well, at that point, you know, he walked away and sure, whatever, he's going to go be the megalomaniac.
Although I'm still trying to figure out. Okay, I know this is stupid gripe, but one, since when has he turned from the master of magnetism to the master of any metal, whether it's magnetic or not?
No.
And
With magnetism, you can pick up metal, as long as it's made of good old-fashioned metal, which they're assuming
it's made of iron components. Aluminum is non-magnetic. I mean,
yeah,
yes,
but we're talking
you create
about
a big enough
70s.
magnetic field, you could modify anything. You know, you could push people with a big enough magnetic field. But
you know, all I have to say is he floats. Let's really not debate the physics of how his powers work.
Metal in his boots, that's easy enough. But steel toe boots, there you go. But anyway, I can explain that one. That one's easy enough for to do.
Because those were invented in the 70s. No, they weren't.
I assume steel toe boots have been around for a heck of a long time. But
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, no, we gotta get a fact check on that one.
That's right.
I have no idea. He's got steel shanks. That's what it is. Those have been around for a long time.
You know, Google is really scary. When I start typing when were steel and it finishes toe boots invented. That we are living in the future right now. I'm just saying.
Future of the days past. Anyway, but okay, so there wasn't supposed to be a stitch of metal aside from semiconductor, obviously, in these robots, and yet he can just liquefy a girder, reform it into wire, and cram it into plastic, and somehow that makes them reprogrammed?
Not reprogrammed. He was physically controlling each one.
Well, then I have a problem with that. How in the heck does he
gets them to fire? Fire is beyond me. Yeah. That was another plot hole that I was like, okay. I can get the marionette side of things, but how are you making them fire their damn guns? They're plastic bullets. That's the part. Now, unless he put iron bullets in, and then he could fire them out, but there wouldn't be an explosion like there was as if they were actually firing.
Shooting, got the impression that the robot was shooting the gun, which then led me to believe, okay, somehow he has now hacked them. And so how is that working? And why does shoving girders into them make that happen? And I was like, okay, it's Magneto basically doesn't have to make sense in this movie.
There's a lot of things you would do if they started shoving metal in places. You'd be doing a lot of crazy things too.
Yeah.
So in the 1930s, by the way, is when steel-toe boots were.
All right. And did you know that there are like different classes of them?
Yeah, each country's got their own class apparently.
Class 2 toe cap, electrical protection, anti-static protection, electrically conductive, and protection against chainsaws. That's the one I would like, please.
Yeah, though I walked through the shoe store, one of the shoe stores up here the other day, looking for new work shoes, and I ended up in the steel-toed boot and work shoe section, and yeah, there's as many different varieties as there are as women's pumps.
Thank you all for joining us for the Gamersledge Steel-Toe Boot podcast. Let's jump to a user question, a listener question. We've got a couple.
User.
Yeah, user. I'm still in software mode. This is a good thing to discuss. Marcos asks, "Who was the lady at the end clip?"
Nice. I had a big complaint about that, actually.
So that was actually a guy, and that guy was Apocalypse, who was
also XR Kun, which is what they were chanting.
Yes,
yeah. When I saw the arms, I was just like, oh, come on. What is this, like, Apocalypse that gets sand kicked in his face, and then he gets mad, and that's why, the world hates him?
Well, but I mean, he didn't, when he was a kid at one point, and that's what he looked like. He didn't look like Apocalypse as a kid.
Yeah, they were going back to the ancient Egypt, his origin 5,000 years ago.
I have to say that this is one area that I was really frustrated with coming out of the movie. I was hoping that we would get to meet in this new divergent timeline that's been restored with Wolverine, that we would get to meet Professor X's son, Legion. And that would lead us to the creation of the Age of Apocalypse storyline. But instead we're getting something different. We're getting Apocalypse in the, I'm just going to use air quotes, 616 universe, because we don't actually know that this is the 616 universe. After everything's set right, we don't know that that's
more similar to it, but
yeah, more similar. But I think Marvel will at some point classify the Fox movie franchise universe as its own non-616 entity.
I'd be surprised if it didn't have a number at this point, but I mean, even the Shield and Marvel Cinematic Universe have a number. It's like 9999999 or something like that. But
so yeah, Apocalypse is supposed to be the pinnacle of the mutation chain. He's supposed to be ungodly.
First mutant too, which is
the first mutant as well, from space, an alien. People worship him as a cult. There is a galactic cult that worshipped him, and with him has to come Cable and Strife.
Not necessarily Strife.
Well, you can't have a Cable without Strife. He's
Why
a clone of Cable.
Yeah, I understand that, but they don't have to have Strife in there. I mean, it depends. There's a bunch of little stories they could throw in there. He's got the Four Horsemen. Is he going to have Archangel? I want to see Archangel.
Well, see, that's what we were discussing. It looks like he's got Four Horsemen already. So unless the beginning of Age of Apocalypse is him throwing.
The Horsemen change from time to time, though.
No, that's my prediction. They're going to throw that Horseman up against the X-Men. The X-Men are going to win at the beginning of the movie, and then he's going to kidnap Angel. But I think Angel's dead. Oh no, that's the bug angel.
That was the Pixie Angel, not the...
Pixie Angel.
No. They also, if in the one we don't like the count, they did kill him, didn't they?
Oh God.
In Last Stand? I'm pretty sure he got whacked in Last Stand.
Well, but that's all been reset, so it doesn't matter.
We don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because technically Professor X died too, so there is that.
That was a gripe somebody talked to had, was the fact that in the future, where the opening of the film, he was there.
Yeah, well, see, but
they proved at the end scene of 3 that he was still alive.
Well, right, but how did he find a perfect match for his body, whatever? But it doesn't matter.
Because
he had a twin brother. That's the story.
That's not what it is. I fully believe that the Days of Future Past timeline that we open with at the beginning of the movie is not the post X-Men Last Stand universe.
Well, it is post that event though, because Logan has the flashback.
No, you're not listening to me. It's not the same timeline. It's a similar timeline. It is not the timeline.
Okay, so the gene scene still happened.
Correct. The gene scene still happened. A lot of the same similarities still happened, but I don't think that the Wolverine we have now is the Wolverine that went through all that crap. Similar
crap.
Similar crap, but not that crap.
Yeah, that's the thing is right now they can just cherry pick what did or didn't happen at this point.
And I have to say that that's one of the strengths of how they resolved everything, is that we finally get a conclusion to X1, how the professor seems to know Logan, but Logan swears he's never met him, but then his memory is also Swiss cheesed. And the two franchises, the core X-Men team and the First Class team, can go their separate directions without any issue whatsoever between the two movies. Whatever First Class does is now canon for the later movies. So I thought that was a strong way to reset it, but it does create more questions than anything else.
Right, and we don't know if Days of Future Past, we don't know yet whether that's a First Class era movie or if it's a post reboot era movie. Do we?
What do you mean?
The next X-Men, the Apocalypse movie, whatever it's going to be called.
We don't. I'm guessing it's a post reboot.
So you think we're going to see Gene Scott?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Because it doesn't make sense for them to tackle it with First Class.
Yeah.
They would be way out of their league.
And I have to say, I have been waiting every single X-Men movie to see that version of Iceman finally.
So
physically. I mean,
yeah, no, I agree, and I thought it was well executed.
And Sean did a great job with that. I mean, the Ashmore brothers pop up here and there in just the craziest times. You never know when one of them's going to pop up, but he did a good job with that role. It's not happy-go-lucky Bobby Drake. It's the world is freaking endy Bobby Drake.
It's Neo-Sapien Bobby Drake.
It's Neo-Sapien Bobby Drake, yes.
So one of the other questions that we got came from Taylor, and Taylor wants to know, does Wolverine have adamantium claws in the present now?
That's actually one of my Toon Monkey questions.
Yay! And that was one of my questions. I got so mad when I saw adamantium claws in the future, and I was like, wait a minute! No! Those turned into bone claws at the end of Wolverine, so how did you get adamantium again?
Well, no, so you missed all that part. All those movies are now null and void. They didn't happen.
Yeah, but in the future of Days of Futures Past, it did happen.
Right. Well, here's the thing. The reason why Wolverine had metal claws again in the future is because the bone claw idea is the worst freaking idea they've ever had for Wolverine ever in the history of comics.
But they did show it, and that was hilarious when with that whole mafia groups, he couldn't do a whole lot with them. It was cracking me up.
That was funny.
But I do also have to say that I did like the homage to the adamantium being pulled out of Wolverine by putting the rebar in Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of cute. And a nice twist. But did they actually show him having adamantium claws in the present?
Not in the at the beginning of the movie he did.
No.
In the future.
At the end of the movie, we don't see.
Yeah,
that's actually one of my questions: is does he have it or does he not? Because we see Mystique is actually
Stryker.
So, did he ever go through Weapon X? Well, of course, this Wolverine thinks he did because he's still got his memories of the other universe.
Right, and that begs the question: did Mystique pretend to be Stryker and friggin' do that to him after he helped save her? That seems very odd.
Like, there's no reason for him to hate him. But why would he?
Seem odd at all. Why wouldn't she do that? She was like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to repay you by making you actually useful."
Oh, but she doesn't know that. She, as far as we know, in the future, if he did, no.
Who wouldn't know that? Or would you rather have stupid bone claws and no adamantium skeleton, or would you rather have the cool stuff that made you you, that everybody loved for years and years and years?
But how did she know it was going to do him a favor? We don't know.
So how wouldn't it be a favor? Because bone claws suck.
How wouldn't it be a favor? Oh, I don't know. Let's completely do the worst thing possible that's going to screw up your mind for several years after this.
Yeah, and traumatize you. But give you an amazing... Yeah. Yeah.
No offense, you get over that. And he's semi-immortal, so he has plenty of years to get over it, too.
So
what would you rather have? Right now, say it. What would you rather have?
Adamantium claws.
Exactly.
Super healing.
Would you rather be able to headbutt the hell out of everybody into oblivion?
Yes.
Or would you rather be I can stab hot dogs and eat them?
It really would he do that really? At the end when he was fighting the Sentinel, and he had bone claws, in my head I kind of said, "What are you gonna do with those? I'm gonna break them and grow them again."
Well, it was plastic, remember?
But still, the adamantium claws would have been fink, fink, done. Beast, don't worry about injecting yourself with that junk. I got this. Chink, shink. Done.
So two problems.
Oh, wait. There's another thing. Sorry.
Well, okay, wait. Before you go farther from this.
Yeah.
So here's one of the other plot holes that I noticed that really bugged me. Okay, let's assume for just a moment that the two universes were the same. Future bad universe and X-Men First Class universe, right?
Yeah, that totally happened, I thought. That is.
Well, now it is. But I'm not so convinced that they were related before this. Hank has a freaking serum that negates mutation.
Mm-hmm.
How would X-Men 1, 2, and 3 not know about this serum and prevent all of X3?
Well, and what about the Sentinels? That was another thing. Where are the Sentinels through 1, 2, and 3? It doesn't...
Yeah, this is also why I don't think any of them are related to the actual X1, 2, and 3. I think this is a alternate universe with similar events, but one thing that was different was the set.
Remember, they actually do explain that in the movie, because they capture Mystique and study her, and they put off the Mach 1, we'll call them Mark 1 Sentinels.
Oh,
and
right.
they focus on making the Nimrod Sentinels, which takes 50 years to do.
I get that. That I would go with, yes.
That's why the Sentinels never attacked in X1, 2, and 3, is because they were still under development and secret.
It still leaves the whole serum question up.
The serum one is, okay, you want an X-Men explanation for that? Xavier decides it's dangerous and wipes everybody's memory of it, and so he knows nobody else knows it.
That works. Okay, moving on. Here's another thing I didn't like. Wolverine and his weight. Did he not notice that he doesn't weigh a buttload? I figured he weigh a bunch more since he had adamantium like skeleton. I thought he would notice that. I don't know.
that's very true. I don't know.
Because he made him very heavy with all the metal in his body, and then
he was
whenever
he was a little bit weaker because he was post-coitus.
That is true.
So okay, we'll go with that. Next question.
We'll figure out
You slept with her a lot in the past.
next to him, or if that was Professor X. We'll let you figure that out. So Sheila M writes in and says, "Am I the only one super bothered that only Kitty displayed a secondary mutation?"
Yeah, they didn't announce that or anything. I don't know how she did
we
that.
already went round and round about it. Dave's just fine with it. He just thinks it's secondary mutation. But
I'm actually not fine with it. I'm mad that she's not the one going back, but hey, what can I do?
Yeah, it was.
Technically-
Wolverine is a good middleman, I thought.
Oh, you have an awesome, strong female character. Let's not do that.
Let's use the fan favorite that's going to make lots of money.
Technically, she wasn't the only one with a secondary mutation.
Yeah, like everybody got one.
Beast of the present was in his secondary mutation form.
Technically.
It was artificially induced, but yes, I think
Yeah,
he was the first one
did
to
it
ever
himself.
have a secondary mutation. I think.
Yeah, but that wasn't due to the same reason why everybody else was getting secondary mutations.
Yeah. Well, Emma Frost in First Class had her secondary mutation already.
Let's not bring her up because she was terribly cast.
Wow. Let's just not count any of the things that are examples of what you asked about, and.
No,
She
but
said-
she was just terrible in it. And first of all, they were cracking diamond. Like, come on, they didn't even treat it right.
Oh, this is actually another point that Sheila makes that I find kind of interesting. I found it to be very distracting that she was the only person in the future to have that secondary. I also noticed that Old Man Logan was referenced earlier. What I don't get is that the timeline takes place only 10 years in our future, so why was Logan gray? I understand to separate the Logans visually, but that was a bother point. Which is very true, because for Logan to turn gray, he'd need to be like another 120 years older.
Or the stress of the Sentinels. Man, it got to him. Ooh.
Like yeah. I can understand that.
He
No,
could
I'm
have
not even
also just put that in himself as a stylistic choice.
Right, because while
He
he's
felt bad.
running from his life from Sentinels, he's gonna stop and die just as temples gray.
Maybe he felt bad. Maybe everyone was looking terrible, and he goes, "Oh, I'm still looking awesome. I better."
Or he wanted the respect and everything like that. And if he put a little gray in his hair, people would respect him more.
Mm.
Because maybe
Or
he was
maybe
having
he just
to lead
ran through a
Wait,
really
can I
narrow
ask a question?
hallway.
Wait, I have a question. What people? There's none left.
You know, the people. Duh.
The
God.
evil people who hate mutants? He wants respect from them?
No,
Yes.
like Sunspot. And that's about it.
It's camouflage to hide from the
Is
Sentinel.
this how all the spoiler casts have been? Just all of us talking
this
at
is
once?
Exactly. Yes, this is.
This is
exactly how it
awesome. I'm sorry I missed the other ones.
These are kind of the fun ones.
Yeah, and I've been missing out on the fun ones. Not
So-
that the other ones are fun, but my
Taro,
goodness.
since you arrived late,
Hey, what's up?
we've already done a synopsis. What would you rate the movie on a 1 to 10 scale?
1 to 10. I do alphabet. Sorry. So I gave it an A- on my part. So what is that?
93,
Yeah, 93. Yeah.
9.3.
I liked it. The reason I didn't go an A or A+ is because of the continuity parts and how much how much they didn't answer. They answered a bunch of questions, but at the same time they didn't answer the ones that were obvious, and they kind of just turned their cheek and rewrote history. And that's the part that bugs me. So because of continuity errors, yeah. But I still liked First Class more than this one.
So technically they're not errors anymore, because
Well, I mean, what was the other one? Like, how did Xavier come back to life? They didn't answer
Yeah,
that.
you really did miss the whole thing. I really think
Okay.
this
They
is
had a brain dead twin. I'm telling you, this is the official thing that I read online today because I was kind of curious about that.
Oh,
They
jeez.
went with brain dead twin brother that was being like held somewhere by it might have
That's
been
not
like,
an official answer.
Was that
it might
the
have been
end
like
credits?
Maria or something Taggart.
Was that the end credits at that other movie?
Yeah.
What was it?
Well,
X3.
that was X3. Yeah, there was the ending scene where he wakes up in this comatose body that McTaggart was holding on to. Now, whether or not that's the twin, or I still think she cloned a body. It was my explanation in my head is she cloned him a body and he put his consciousness into it and cheese whiz.
Yeah, okay, why not? Okay, next question.
I don't think.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, do you have another one?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The thing that bothered me first, and I just got over it because I saw this is where they were going. But the thing that first bothered me about the movie was how are they? Okay, it's the infusion of Mystique's power into the Sentinels. So are the Sentinels organic? Or are they not organic? They seem to be putting up a lot of more resistance than.
They're semi-organic, bub.
and Mystique's power was not adapt to survive. That was Darwin's power. So how are the Sentinels adapting using Mystique's power to just?
Well, no, they did kill quite a few of the Sentinels.
That's what bugged
were
me.
Indestructible. It's just that they adapted. So they were the Borg of Sentinels. They were adapting on the fly.
I just didn't like that. How'd they get that ability? Mystique was the only one that make it look like something else, not actually become that.
Yeah, well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. You're absolutely right.
Like when it touched Colossus, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna look like Colossus." No, just kidding. I am Colossus material now. Brah! And I was like, Mystique can't do that. Mystique can't just turn into Colossus and say, "I'm made of Colossus stuff." No, you can stab her, and it's her looking like Colossus, and stab.
Guys, quick question: where was Rogue?
She was cut because she died way early.
Right, already dead, already assimilated into the Sentinels.
Well, she wasn't a mutant anymore at that point.
Why do I have to explain everything to you guys?
Well, not really, because the serum didn't last very long. Remember? Magneto, Last Stand. I don't want to talk about the Last Stand. It was so bad. Remember, Magneto got his powers back.
Yeah, but Hank had the serum to make her a non-human. He could just suppress her powers, just like Charlie.
No, Professor Xavier forgot and made everybody forget. Remember? That's what Matt said.
I do not like. No, that was. Oh yeah, it was Matt. I hate you, Matt.
But that was already the next question. We're good. Let's go.
Woo. Wow. Extra caffeine tonight.
I don't like the little furry one that looks like me.
Oh, hold on. I'll show you a photo. That's gonna be.
So, Taro, since you missed out, what was your favorite part of the movie?
Favorite part? Oh my gosh! Now you're thinking with portals. That was one of them, and of course, Quicksilver scene. My gosh, that was cool.
Yeah. Well, at least we're all consistent in picking the exact two same things.
Oh, is that? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, portal fastball special and
whenever.
Quicksilver, yeah.
Gosh, whenever that happened and he was falling from high heights, whatever, and then just falling. In my head, I was saying, "Oh, it'd be really cool if they threw a portal down and then he just flung sideways." But then in my head, I also said, "Oh, now you're thinking with portals," and then it went, and I was like, "Oh, now you're thinking with portals." It made me giggle, and everyone else was like, "Whoa, that's cool." I was like, "No, it's you're thinking with portals." Aperture, they don't know. They don't know. Black Mesa, no, nothing. Sorry, yeah, no, it was awesome. Those two, amazing. The Quicksilver scene made it kind of solidified the movie, made this like a all right, let's go kind of movie. That was the point that in my head is it just made the movie start connecting all the pieces and then go with the plot. Yeah, that was cool. I really like that scene.
My mom knew a guy that could do that once.
Oh, that was a neat little thing. That was really cool when they said that.
Yeah, I just wish we would have seen Mystique, or not Mystique, Wanda.
Who cares? Didn't need her for this.
Any other? What
Pardon?
was your least favorite part, Turo?
Least favorite. Oh, balls. All right, we'll talk about something else, and I'll try to remember.
I'm looking online right now to see if we've got any more questions submitted.
Just so everybody's aware, a little quick side note.
Dave,
that
any
has to do
other
with
thoughts
X-Men.
that you wanted to address from the movie? Yeah.
Yes, there is a Lego tie-in set. It features the Sentinels and the X-Jet,
That's cool.
and it has Storm and Cyclops.
Okay.
And it's like early '90s characters.
Nice.
Wolverine's
Wait,
in his
does he have
brown.
Bishop? Does he have Bishop?
I didn't see Bishop in that set,
Yeah,
was
no,
there?
there's no Bishop
Not
yet.
interested.
It was long-haired, black suit Storm, brown suit Wolverine, the darker blue Cyclops thing with the hood all the way over his head,
Right, Purple Sentinel,
purple Sentinel, purple Magneto.
Purple Magneto, classic helmet. In addition to the Guardians of the Galaxy sets are out.
Oh yes, the Guardians. I need me that Rocket Raccoon
Let's see.
and a Bionicle Groot. Or what's it called now? It's not Bionicle anymore, is it? I
There's
forget what they call it now.
There's another thing that bugged me. If they did all these experiments on Mystique, did they just let her go, or did she escape and then just say, they just poked me a lot with stuff, but don't worry, I'm okay. Let's do X-Men 1, 2, and 3. Do.
Oh no, they implied that she died. They pretty heavily implied that she died.
But we see her in X-Men 1, 2, and 3.
That supports
Again,
his theory that X-Men 1, 2, and
not
3
a-
are a different universe than First Class.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, jeez and Rice. Then why did the whole Wolverine thing? Why did his consciousness see all of that? Whenever
Because
we were going
it's
through it?
similar, not exact.
So a version of Last Stand happened.
Correct.
So it's still poopy.
I mean, that's as near as I can figure, because really that's the only thing that makes sense. Is that it's a problem because we're not getting labels of what the universe numbers are when we start and end the movie.
But how do you tell that to people? How do you tell it to people who don't know about universes or alternate universes or anything? How do you explain that to the audience saying, okay, this isn't a sequel to X-Men 1, 2, and 3, but the things happened in X-Men 1, 2, and 3 kind of sort of still happened. But not really, just differently. How do you tell that to everybody in the audience without telling them? By just making something up and just say, well, just go along with it. Do.
No, you know what they could do is they could create their own version of the Watcher, and just open the movie with narration explaining that there are multiple worlds, multiple universes, and this is a universe, and this is a story from that universe, but not the universe.
Yeah, but the movie already came out. It's already too late. If they released it or a snippet of it, then yeah, that'd been awesome. But now people, let's say it does come out 5 years, 6 years from now, a Watcher movie comes out and explains it, people aren't going to be like, oh, Days of Futures Past makes sense now. No.
Or you just go along with the fact that it's either a different Mystique that's in the movies, or Eric actually rescues her somehow and they thought she was dead, but she really wasn't dead.
I like to go with that one.
How many times has she fake died?
And did we lose Dave?
Yeah, he fell off the internet, or he had to go. He had a pending something that he might have to attend to. So.
What's the other thing? Okay, least favorite part of the movie. There was a lot of cool parts. The first part that bugged me was it almost felt like the future cast was only there just to film those few scenes. I really thought it was going to be half and half, but it ended up being a sequel for First Class, which I don't mind. But it kind of felt like they were just kind of thrown in just to do some parts. But that kind of bugged me. But I think my least favorite part, and it was all cool, all the deaths and everything, and seeing your X-Men, oh my gosh, you can kill them. But some parts really hurt, and some of them were really, really abrupt and very harsh and hurt me. But whenever they ripped Colossus in half, that hurt.
We discussed that a little bit earlier. I thought that the deaths were not very heroic, in that nobody died trying to save someone else and get them out of the way. They were all just fighting on their own, like they knew they could take them. And it's like, no, that's not.
Well, Magneto did something like that. He made that shield.
Well, and remember the beginning battle, and maybe this kind of infused the way that they went down in the second battle, was they were just stalling. They weren't trying to win.
They knew they were going to die, and if they did, maybe.
Yeah, but if I'm one of the X-Men and I see that Sunspot is being surrounded by Sentinels, I'm going to go try and get their attention off of Sunspot, not let him be torn, have his arm torn off, and then beat him to death with it and his own powers, or ice powers, whatever.
Well, wait, can we call out the biggest, BS in that whole scene?
Sure.
That Sunspot was one of the last ones to make it? Sorry, that was rude.
Well, you got to have some answer to the Justice League's Fire and Ice.
Oh, yeah. We could. What? Firestar wasn't available? I think that would have been a better choice.
Well, considering that she was the first comic book, she's the first person to ever go from TV show to comic book, and then she's had a very short-lived comic book career after that.
Dude, she was an amazing friend.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I just said.
You actually had a pretty wicked storyline where her microwave powers gave her cancer, and she went through the whole.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, she did not have a fruitful career in the book.
She's back now.
Well, as of when?
As of 6 months ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. She's on some team. I think it's one of the X-Men teams now, I think. I don't remember. I don't know. But she's back around. So she got back from the whole cancer thing. So.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me. I gave myself cancer, so let's do it some more. Now that I'm healed.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was my chops. I was trying to find the Wolverine chops that I did. There you go. Oh, yeah.
I approve of all that, Bob.
I was trying to find it this entire time. Found.
Going back to I thought that the Stinger scene was kind of a letdown simply because they'd already announced what the movie was going to be. If they hadn't announced what the next movie was going to be, that would have been kind of cool. But the fact that we already knew.
I just didn't know how it was going to set up. Yeah.
Right. So, but anyway, so we have that.
They already said that actor's being recast, so that's not even the way he's going to look like. So that's good.
Well, and whatever. I mean, it wasn't going to spend very long on Kid Apocalypse anyway. I didn't figure, but
no.
Now with all the stuff that can potentially come in there, and I don't know how this works license-wise, but do you think they try to work in a version of either Immortus or Kang? Because their storylines get heavily intertwined.
See, and I'm sorry, but Mr. Sinister is always around too when it comes to Apocalypse, and
I think we have more of a chance of seeing Mr. Sinister than we do Kang or anybody like that.
Yeah,
because the Kang stuff, that was early on in Apocalypse's thing. So I don't think they're going to go back that far. I don't think they're going to really care that much and give that much fan service to it.
Yeah, the only thing would be is if he comes back in time to stop him, because they worked together when he was Immortus, but when he became Kang, then they became enemies.
Yeah, but I just have a feeling they're just going to show him in ancient Egypt just to go like, hey, he's old. Here he is now.
All right.
I really think that's what they're going to do.
Fair enough.
Sorry, real quick thing. That was my friend said right here. She tagged me in this. If you can't read it, I'll read it for you.
Oh, God, I saw that joke earlier.
Yeah, it made me giggle. She tagged me in it, and I laughed a lot.
What was the joke? I missed it. I'm sorry.
It said, why did Magneto stop wearing his purple costume? Because the days of fuchsia Thank you. Thank you.
I
He'll be here all
approve
week,
this message. I approve this message.
I saw it and I giggled and I congratulated her. It was
You
awesome.
should not encourage that.
I totally encourage that. All right, so this is now the largest grossing film in the franchise, over $300 million to this date. It's only been out for 2 weeks, I think. Any final thoughts on the movie? Do you recommend it? Do you not recommend it? Fine. I mean, we've all given it decent scores, so I'm going to assume we all recommend it. But, any final closing thoughts? And we'll start with you, Dave.
I definitely recommend it. It definitely gives me hope for the next one. And I needed that because I was really sour on the X-Men series. I mean, I did like First Class, but it did have its issues at the same time. But this one, we got Singer back for the next one too, so he seems to do a pretty good job on the X-Men, movies. So keep at it.
Matt?
I'm curious to see if it's going to be another multi-generational movie on the next one, because I could see them doing another fusion of the X-Men First Class and the future X-Men, now that we have basically the entire X-Men cast back to play with because of the alternate timelines.
And an immortal bad guy.
And an immortal bad guy, so it could actually take place at multiple time periods in the film. It actually didn't work bad for the first one. To Terrell's point, I think it was simply they didn't want to invest a lot of time in characters in a universe that was going away. That's why I think they spent a little time in it. But I recommend it. You don't need to see it in the theater. There's no particular thing that made me say, "Oh my God, you need to see this in the theater."
What are you talking about? It's the best what I do in the theater.
Shut up, Wolverine. Go eat some Swiss cheese.
Bone claws.
But it was a very good movie. It did, again, it revived. I mean, X-Men First Class kind of started it, and this one really solidified the franchise as back, which it's probably been gone since at least X2, if not X1. It'll be interesting to see in the future what events did and didn't happen. What do we have and what don't we have to play with in this new future, and will the next one take place 10 years in the future, like where Wolverine returned to, or will it jump backwards in time and we'll have Wolverine from that timeline, not Days of Pet, whatever. Anyway, yes, good, recommend it. There is some stuff you're gonna have to get past. Some people can't get past the Sentinel design. Some people can't get past Magneto. There's different stuff, but it's a comic book movie. You kind of just got to go with some of it. It's kind of just the way it is.
So just as an FYI, as of 2 days ago, was revealed that Blink has been signed to a 5-picture deal.
Wow!
The
actress,
apparently fans loved her. So
she was cute. Holy crap! Who was that?
her name is
Yeah.
Bing Bing. Bing Bing is her name. I think so. I don't know for sure, but Fan Bing Bing, it might be her name.
I want your
It's really
name.
cool to see Jubilee.
Yeah, her name is Fan Bing, and she does look exactly like Jubilee. Like, not a joke.
At first,
she's a Chinese actress, singer, and television producer.
Wow.
At first, I did think it was Jubilee, and then I was like, "Oh no, she's useful."
Oh, nice.
I'm sorry, when they went back to the 70s, I was totally hoping for Dazzler. I am so disappointed no Dazzler in this. That would have been have her in the roller skates and the friggin' white bodysuit.
Or even a cameo or something.
Oh, I would have paid money if she was. I was there. I did pay money, but I would have paid more.
You would have heard me scream.
Scream like a little girl, or scream
like a little girl, and have her played by Heather Graham or something like that. And I would have just been like,
oh, I am right there with you, right there with you. I can't believe they've missed on that opportunity. But we do have future First Class movies to look forward to, so I'm still kind of hoping for The other last thought from you, Turo, and then we've got one more question. We'll wrap it up.
All right, let me do this before everyone forgets who I am. There we go. Yay! Now that's more almost over. Final thoughts. Yes, I do recommend it. I think a lot of people, just the regular movie theater goer people, aren't gonna really care about the. They're not gonna raise questions about the bone claws or the adamantium thing or Professor being back or why is Mystique in the movies. Like I'm not calling them dumb. I think they just don't care. I think they're just going for a good movie, and they know it's a sequel to Wolverine's in it. That kind of thing. I think that's the majority of people who are gonna go watch it, and for them, awesome. Have a great time watching that movie. But for people who want to know more, then they can do some research and make their own little theories about what happened. Let's see. And final thought. My gosh, I cannot wait for Apocalypse. It's really cool. There's only a certain amount of movies that can do what X-Men did, because a part of me wants to say that I wish they started with First Class and then went from there, but another part of me is happy they didn't do that, because they got to set the X-Men movies, the 3, and then kind of with the third one let it die.
Well, technically it's the second one died too, about halfway through.
Oh, well.
With the reset.
I still really like the first one. It's still my favorite.
Yeah, me too.
But I just, even with Origins and stuff, they knew stuff was going wrong, and Wolverine was okay. It wasn't the greatest, but I enjoyed it. I know other people don't like it, Bone Claws, but I liked how they had a chance to go back to First Class and then almost give it a new life. And with this, rewriting the whole thing, it really is. They're giving it a brand new life to it. So I'm kind of glad. I haven't seen a movie do this before. Maybe Fantastic Four will do it too, with a new revamp or something. I don't know, but it's cool to see it actually happen and succeed. So,
yeah,
boom.
We literally, for the first time in film, have experienced a retcon.
Yeah.
That was one of the other points that I wanted to point out, is that we have never seen an actual retcon of a comic book franchise like this, and that's exactly what this was. Oh, you guys all thought that those Wolverine movies sucked? Hey, let's retcon it. And they did.
Yeah.
Rather than a raw reboot, yeah.
Yeah. So Sheila brought up a very good point. Hugh Jackman was interviewed by IGN not long after the release of the movie, like just a couple days, saying he'd love to see Wolverine be paired up with the Avengers.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's
been wanting to do that.
Comes, and this is all speculation, but it's a very good point. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are both usable by Fox and Disney because they negotiated that deal because they were key Avengers. The question begs, wouldn't you think that they also negotiated the same deal for Wolverine, Logan, and Spider-Man?
There would be way more money involved in that deal that they're probably, and they know how much that's worth.
And at the beginning, they probably didn't know.
That's worth. You can't sit there and tell me that they're going to sit there, Marvel's going to try and and they can't just slip that one by, oh, can we just use, Wolverine in one of our movies or something like that? They know exactly what that's worth.
So here becomes the question. Is it worth the money to pay? I know, I think, the initial response is Marvel owns the freaking character, they shouldn't have to pay. But is it worth it to give the fans what they want to see a crossover of the two universes?
I don't know.
Say for the money they're probably asking for, knowing how deep Disney's pockets are, yeah, no.
Well, apparently the internet did not like his answer.
Is that a yeah, no? I don't know. Dave, are you back?
Executed him. No, he's gone.
Oh, that was such a great answer. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he's totally worth it because they're going to make it all back.
I would think so as well.
I without knowing what the contracts are, it's kind of a hard question to answer. I mean,
I have no clue how they're going to put him in.
Obviously, they've done it in a way where we know with Daredevil and with Fantastic Four that they had to make a movie every so often, otherwise they lost the rights. That's how.
Oh yeah, and that's the same for the Fox deals.
But the thing is that those studios aren't going to give those properties up. And at the time, Marvel's philosophy was we'll farm it out. So they probably didn't write really good retraction clauses into their contracts.
Oh no! You know that's not why they sold the rights, right?
Was it bone
They
clauses?
sold the rights because they were basically bankrupt.
Well, right, and that part of the way they were going to infuse money was they were going to diversify their movie portfolio. They were going to sell the rights to these different film companies, and they had the rights to make the movies.
Right, and it's not like Marvel doesn't make money on the Fox and Sony franchises.
Right.
They totally do.
They still make a cut of it, right? But I don't think it's worth it. I think if they need something that has a character of that nature, I mean, let's face it, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, in the scope of something that you're going to do a movie for, minor characters. They could work that angle. They could contract that in. Nobody was really going to think about it being a big deal. But someone key like Spider-Man or, I mean, the whole concept of mutants you can't even use. So I don't know what characters they can use the names of and just not call them mutants. I mean, obviously we know those two. But who else can they use? Yeah,
they're
the
miracles.
I mean, could you have Arachnid Boy and, basically have a similar powered
Wolverine
character?
miracle?
Yeah, another.
Oh,
That would be the most interesting IP infringement case ever. Well,
Yeah.
we own these characters, but we can't own
Well, when they
or use
sold
them.
Spider-Man, did they sell Scarlet Spider? Could they go that route? So
That's a good question.
what other routes do they have that they can go?
Do they have the rights to use Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch? Because I heard something today, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, but they have to be called Peter and Wanda.
They have.
Pietro, sorry.
I believe they have the rights for Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, actually.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was curious about, because that was the first time I heard that.
Yeah,
That's why I thought that somebody might have been just mistaken on that one.
But I don't think that the options for. I think it will be a very different Quicksilver. Obviously, I don't think we're going to see punky teenage kleptomaniac Quicksilver in Age of Apocalypse, or not Age of Apocalypse, darn it, Age of Ultron. But I still have quite a bit of faith that the characters will be done well, and you'll have both of them. So I think that'll play to a bonus. But yeah, I don't fear that the Quicksilver is going to pale in comparison. It's going to be such a completely different character that to me they won't even compete with each other.
Oh, I think they're going to be. I agree. I think it's going to be a horror flick. I mean, I think those two are going to be like world destroyers.
yeah.
Yeah, well, they've already basically said that, or the actress playing Scarlet Witch basically said she's bats, nuts, crazy. She has completely lost her mind.
Well, I hope she's not bats, because that's another IP infringement altogether. So.
Oh, also, that was really funny seeing Aaron Taylor Johnson, and man, what's her name? It's the other Olsen sister. The person playing Scarlet Witch. Oh crap. Anyway, we'll just call her the other Olsen, their other Olsen sister. They were a couple in the movie Godzilla. So whenever I saw them kissing and making out, I'm like, ew, that's your sister. It made me giggle because they're both playing Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
So great segue into our final question, where we'll close the podcast. Believe it or not.
Hey!
Crazy Panda wants to know, what should I watch, Godzilla or X-Men: Days of Future Past?
Oh my God, X-Men: Days of Future Past by a long shot.
Yeah, Godzilla was. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I was entertained, just not what you expected. And X-Men just gives you what you expected plus.
Yeah, I'm not telling you there's a right or wrong answer to this, because everybody's opinion varies, but there are some such a thing as a wrong opinion.
Wait a minute, that guy is asking that question, and he's listening to a Spoilercast.
Well, no, it was a written-in question.
Oh, so is he going to watch it and then go, oh, I'm glad everything's spoiled, I'm going to go watch X-Men now.
I don't make the rules. I'm just reading the darn question.
Plot hole of the Spoilercast.
It is a plot hole. All right, let's just retcon the whole hour 20. All right. So Turo actually arrived late because he came from the future to tell us about this plot hole, so that we can avoid the entire spoiler.
Oh, by the way, that whole thing about the guy writing in about the. Oh, sorry. I'll be right back. Beep boop beep 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 boop.
I also agree that you should watch Days of Future Past. I liked Godzilla a lot. But it really comes down to your preference. Do you want to see a superhero movie, or do you want to see a man in the suit movie? Granted, there's no man in the suit in this day and age, but you get the idea. Go with whatever your strengths are. If you only have money enough to see one of them, pick your favorite and go from there. I would say that you won't be disappointed by Days of Future Past, even if it's just for that 2-minute sliver that we probably spoiled horribly for you. All right.
I obviously made the choice to go see Days of Future Past instead of Godzilla because I haven't seen Godzilla. So.
You chose wisely.
So until the next Spoilercast, which I don't think will happen until August, the week of August 1st.
No, there's no movie coming out then.
Which we will be on hand for. Actually,
Wait.
That's not true. Our next.
We're not doing a spoiler cast for Chef, because I saw that too. That was awesome.
For what?
Chef.
What?
Chef.
What?
Chef.
Oh, Chef. Got it.
The Jon Favreau movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it good?
Oh my god, it's amazing.
No, I want to see it. I haven't seen it. Is it out? I didn't even know it was out.
It's a limited release.
It apparently got a wider release because I saw it at a normal theater.
Oh, well, I'll have to check that out because I really wanted to see it.
Yeah, it's actually really good.
So actually, I lied. Our next Spoilercast, I just checked the schedule, will be June 9th. It will be a little bit later if you want to watch the live feed. It will happen at probably around 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central. This will be the post E3 conferences wrap-up Spoilercast. So we will be awesome. The site will be updating throughout the day as the various conferences are going on. But then around 11:30 Eastern, we're going to try and get everybody together and do a analysis of all the different things that were revealed from each of the conferences and discuss and see what we can glean out of that. So,
do I want to try and take off that day?
It's already done.
Yeah, but you get days off. I don't get paid for when I take a day off.
It's gonna be worth it. I got to say.
Yeah, right.
To me, this is probably a bigger E3 than last E3.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so I think
these are the E3s where there's great stuff because it's like, all the hardware's out now, and now we're hitting in the second generation software. The launch software is out of the way. Now we're getting to the actual software that's supposed to start hitting, and that's when you should see stuff because right now they need a punch in the arm as far as software out on these systems because there's not much out there.
I agree, and I think this is going to be the E3 for blockbuster title announcements, and I'm still predicting Last Guardian shows, so we'll see. Who are you shooting us with?
It's well, you can't see because of the glare, actually.
Deadpool?
Yeah, it's Nick Fury.
Nick Fury Jr.
With
yeah, I know, right?
with custom Brick Arms 45s.
Whoa.
So, housekeeping. Please do visit the website gamersledge.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us, subscribe and like on YouTube. Follow us on twitch.tv/balth99. Any other last thoughts before we close this up? What's that?
Read the music posts.
That's right. Oh, and we are now putting the video casts on our podcast stream, so you'll be able to pick those up from this point going forward. So, unless there's anything else, going once, going twice, Sold American, movie on!
Movie on!
Movie on! Oh, that's different.